You're listening to E-Commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manel and Jason Caruso.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 177. My name's Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
We got a pretty good episode today, I think. It's kind of a new topic that we really don't touch on too often. I'm excited about it, and that's we're talking to an influencer expert, basically Silva. He has an agency. He partners up with influencers. You know, he's ran brands that he's had to make influencer connections with. So it was really fun to talk to him. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I was
good topic that I don't think a lot of people know about, or how to go about capturing influencers or reaching out to influencers, or how much an influencer costs. So
I mean, we certainly never did.
No. That's what we told them. We're like, we really don't know. I told them before the interview, I was like, yeah, this is kind of going to be an education for our audience and us. So it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the truth.
So before we get going, we got to talk about Klaviyo. I've been a little bit crazy with Klaviyo lately, Jason. I got to be honest, because our brand, we run a lot of Facebook ads, we capture a lot of emails, and we're always struggling with where the profitability comes from. So I go into Klaviyo. Yesterday, you would have thought I was crazy, Jason, because I went through every single order in Klaviyo to see where they came from originally. And 9 times out of 10, it was from our email capture. But this is the kind of information you can get from Klaviyo. It was like I could go to the customer and I could see exactly how many emails they opened, what they received it, when they received it, if they clicked. And that's the power of Klaviyo. So you gotta check it out.
Just a quick question on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where else did you think the orders were going to come from in our email platform?
Well, I can also see, direct sales from Facebook. I can see that no one was on our list before. So I can go into Klaviyo, I can look at a customer, and if they just buy, I know that that's basically right from our Facebook ad. So that's what I was trying to figure out, because I know that Facebook attribution isn't always so accurate. So I'd like to look at those numbers.
Okay.
So I'm a little.
We just got an email from Klaviyo. We're working out. We're going to be interviewing their 5 finalists for this big giveaway that they're doing, right?
Yeah, we talked about it last month. They have this owned growth stories, it's called, and it was a contest that they asked people to submit their stories of how they grew their businesses and how they owned their marketing. And they picked 5 finalists, and over the next couple of weeks, the voting is going to, I guess, happen amongst everybody. So you're going to be able to go in and vote for your favorite. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be interviewing the 5 finalists. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on those. It should be really fun.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you guys know that I'm teaching a Facebook course.
Well, before you get to that, Jason, let's just give out the Klaviyo URL.
I'm sorry.
So
we forgot to give
go
the
go to klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored to sign up for a free account over there.
Right.
Go for it, Jason. Sorry to interrupt your spot there.
It's all right.
Jason. Little Jason. I hear little Jason in the background.
Come here.
Here he is on the podcast for the first time. Give him the mic. Let him say hello.
Hi.
What's up, Jason?
What are you doing?
I can't hear him.
Everyone meet little Jason.
Yeah. All right. Go to your friends. I love you. All right. Bye. What? All right. Hold on.
We got Jason, and you got little Jason, and you got Juju there.
Yep.
Oh, see, he's doing his fatherly duties. He's tying his son's shorts. Right. My son likes to do that. He waits till he gets in the pool, and then he tells me that he needs to get his pants tied.
Yeah, and he has a long sleeve shirt on. It's 1,000 degrees outside. Shorts and a long sleeve shirt. Okay, have fun. Let me know if you're going to go anywhere else, okay?
That's what parenting's come to. Just tell me where you go if you go somewhere else.
Right, exactly. So I'm teaching a Facebook course called The Truth About Facebook. And one thing that I said to you guys before was that I've been getting a lot of emails from people saying how they've never been profitable on Facebook, and then after they've taken the course, they're profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, you know, that
Why
is
you do it.
probably, that's why I do it. I mean, this is not something that's really, at the top of our income stream, so to speak. But I'll tell you what, man, when I get one of those emails, it makes my day.
Yeah, it
You know what
makes
I
it
mean?
all worth it, right?
Makes it all worth it. Yeah, because, I'll tell you what, man, I would say a year ago, you and I were probably lost as well. And, this last year, we've learned a lot.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
I can honestly say that, even now more than ever, I feel, I feel like there's not a lot of people teaching the stuff that I'm teaching. And it's nice. It's
Yeah,
nice to hear.
that's
So
cool, man.
if you go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth, you could sign up to our list. I will send you a 48-hour link, a link that's available to you for 48 hours to get the beta pricing, which is like a third of what I'm going to be charging once I launch this thing. Kevin asked me today when I'm going to launch it, and the answer is I'm not sure, because every time I think of something, I create another video. So for now, it's going to be in beta for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if you want to get on that list and you want to sign up, I suggest that you do it. If you're selling physical products, if you're drop shipping, if you're selling info products, anything, this course is evergreen. It teaches you how to sell anything. ecommerceuncensored.com/truth.
Cool. All right. So without further ado, our interview with Los Silva. All right, Los, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
So you were supposed to have you on a couple weeks ago. So I had scoured the internet a little bit for what you do. And since then I've noticed that you have an agency, you don't do speaking engagements. You did speaking engagements.
Not anymore. Right.
And you work with influencers and things like that. So I thought we could just get started maybe by you just kind of giving us a little bit of a backstory and kind of what you're up to.
Yeah. So basically, we do kind of three things, I guess. We have an agency, and we work with two types of people. People that do D2C products, like direct to consumer, kind of e-commerce. Decently established, not decently established, with brands that are doing a couple 100,000 to $1 million, and we scale those brands. And then for people that can't engage in that situation, we have coaching. I have a new product that I'm actually launching with my buddy Joss Lazeche from Snow Teeth Whitening, which kind of gets people to that phase. And then the third thing is we partner with companies. A lot of times it's influencers, and we basically build out full brands as partners, and we do everything. They just become the face, and they make content, and we do the ads, we do the product development, we build the stores, we do the shipping, logistics, emails, profit and loss, like full company. They just, they get to sit around and do what they do best, which is making content and be creators.
Los, that's really interesting, because Kevin and I have recently partnered up with one of probably the best wildlife photographers on the planet. And we're doing the exact same thing with him. And we've gone from like zero to almost, I would say like 2.5 million-ish in like 8 months. And him just doing the content and us like doing everything else. It's been crazy.
It's amazing. Yeah. So it's amazing, and it's also horrible because so at the end of the day, right? Like, and I tried to do this wrong for a while. I'm a business guy. Like I like growing brands and trying to buy them and sell them. We've bought and sold brands before, and I kind of like live in that world. I'm a part of a venture fund where like I analyze companies for them and they acquire them and stuff. So like I've gotten used to that, like almost flipping kind of scenario, right? Scaling it. And, when you run a business like that, you're not taking money every month. It's not a lifestyle company, which is very different from kind of where I grew up, basically doing internet marketing and being more of a lifestyle entrepreneur at the beginning of my career. And influencers live a lifestyle, point blank, period. Not a lot of them are interested in anything other than their likes and their revenue. And, as you're growing a business, that starts to become a shift, because they don't realize that, hey, there's a huge machine behind you. They're like, well, I made content for you. Seems like I made you more money, guys. Let me know when you need more content. And they feel they've done enough, it's really hard to get content or videos or ads or different things like that from them, because they hit a ceiling sometimes financially. They're like, I'm pretty good. I'm going to go, literally, we had a guy go to Hawaii for a month. We're like, hey man, we're in the middle of a product launch. She's like, yeah, just, you got ads. You can figure it out. And so it becomes a little bit of a kind of a bottleneck, right? And so that's one of the things that if you haven't gone through it, I can guarantee that you will.
Well, we are we are kind of going through it. Yeah, I mean, because we're actually doing what you're saying, right? Like we are just splitting the money, right? It's a lot of money,
yes.
right? Even people don't realize, you hear people talking about like, oh, $50 million business, $20 million business, $10 million business, like, okay. And like they're making 10% on that. Right. But like when you're talking about a $3 million info product business, we're spending $90,000 on ads and we're bringing back 205,000, and it's just straight profit, really. Right. Because it's just our ad cost, and we have some, like website stuff. But that's a lot of money, and it's really easy to get caught up in how comfortable that can make you, you know? And our guy, and he's a great guy, and he's like probably one of the best, but he's kind of like doing exactly what you're saying, where it's like he gets lost, and we're like, hey man, we're
still running a business.
Running a business over here. But he's a creator, and that's kind of how they are,
Yeah, it's a really interesting match. Like, it's hard to find that connection between the content side and the business marketing side, because they're kind of rare, right? Because we can feel like we can market anything, and we create content like we do on this podcast, but we've always had an issue with actually producing the content. It just never kind of gets off the ground when we do it. And you got to find that person who's just willing to just churn out content that we can just push out there constantly. And it's really hard to have those two mesh perfectly together.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. It doesn't change, right? It's not gonna, you can't change them. That's the biggest thing that I realized. And so we restructured things a little bit different now, where we, I try to work with influencers at a profit percentage, and we own it fully. And you try to build more of a brand where you can kind of like move people in and out, because there's two things, right? So if you're doing digital, it's super net heavy, which is amazing, but it also becomes a bottleneck, because like what you think is net heavy, and where you also see it because you're a marketer, oh, this is getting started at a couple million. We can scale this and really take a couple million each almost if this keeps going. They see it as like, I'm balling. I don't really have a need for more stuff, and I'm getting more. Now you increased their social currency. And so now they're also getting other deals from you that you're not even a part of, which is fine. You don't care. But that makes them kind of like slow down. And then there's the e-com side, which you can build a business to $1 million a month. I don't want to say fast, but in a systemized fashion, you can hit those numbers. But you are taking at max, if you're some crazy master at logistics and shipping and fulfillment and mastering your numbers, realistically, man, you're taking 15%. More so realistically, a supplement brand or something like that, they're taking 10, right? Because you might have lost leaders and stuff. And so they're looking at it as like, we're making $1 million a month. Like, we're really not, though. We're making 100, and we got to keep it. There's inventory. We got to spend. Like, there's this whole thing. And, that's a problem that, I got to be honest with you, I still have not solved on how to make it perfect, because there's also the ego of, I'm an influencer, you're not, you don't get it. And you go, well, I'm an actual business guy and a marketer, and like, you don't get that. Right. And so, it is what it is.
It's funny you say that, because, we have gotten to a point right now where we're like, okay, how do we start scaling this thing? Right. Like, okay, we are, we're not, for us, $90,000 a month on our own personal money is a lot of money. I know that, and there are people spending much more, but people think like, oh, just spend more money, you'll scale more, and it's not really how that works, right? So we're thinking about other ways right now, like how do we scale this thing kind of out? And what's happening is that we're like, do we really want to get into e-commerce? We're selling this like membership subscription, and it's like, dude, it's like, everything is profit. And now we're just like, we're doing exactly what you're saying. It's like, Now we got to come up with inventory. Now we have to come up with all these other things that we didn't have to worry about right now. And it's like we're kind of like at a crossroads. So it's like a tricky thing for us, really, to be quite frank.
If I could tell you guys to do something, I would say try to do as much as you possibly can still on the net side, which is not e-com. You know, everyone gets excited and everyone's an e-com expert now and all that kind of stuff, but your business revenue wise will drop significantly because you're running a physical goods company, right? And you're going to have to take money out for inventory, and there's going to be refunds, and there's going to be shipping, and then you have to factor in your cost of goods, and, you know, shipping and cost of goods plus ad spend. Well, now I got to maintain a 3.4 ROAS instead of a 1.2 with profit. And so all of that stuff changes so much. It starts to become more of a job. And I'll tell you this, from my experience, not everyone is the same. An e-com business, I think, is something that you grow to sell, right? Because you aren't getting as much as you could from an info business, right? You can do an info business and do way less than an e-com guy and make more money than that person. So you want to kind of sell it. Those people have zero interest in doing something like that. They don't see it the way you guys see it eye to eye. And so it becomes a little bit harder. So on a scaling level too, like you were saying with the 90K, you know, like that's a lot of money, and that offer could be going really, really well. And if you scale that, sometimes like sometimes people cap on offers and people think like, well, everything's scalable, you can do more. It could mean now you're doing lost leaders and all this other stuff. So a lot of time that means like, all right, let's really develop a back end, or let's build another front end product to support the success we're having with this one, so we can start doing something else and have 180K in spend with a 2-3 times return, and knowing that we're bringing even more customers to the table.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we are. We have one product. We have a lifetime membership and like a yearly subscription, and we're trying to get our partner to come up with some new products. It's been a little bit of a challenge. And we have an agency as well, and we have clients that, you know, we've actually surpassed in revenue, and they've been in business much longer than we have. And, you know, they need, like you said, they need a 5x return on their ads, or they're losing money. You know, where we're doing like a 1.2x return.
Yes.
And it's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. You spend, you know, or 1.5, whatever the return actually turns out to be. But yeah, I mean, so that's exactly what we're going through. But a question for you, because, you know, one of our clients is like heavy on influencers, right? And one thing that they struggle with, and maybe you can talk about more, because, you know, obviously, or quite honestly, we're not experts on this, but, you know, influencer traffic and influencer influence is not like something that you can rely on every day, right?
Right.
It's more of like
fickle.
It's fickle. Yeah. It peaks, it valleys, it does all those things. What would your advice be to people who use influencers heavily, like one of our clients? How do you keep that more, you know, predictable, I guess? Do you guys do something with the people you work with that allows you guys to be a little bit more like, you know,
even? So here is how people think about working with influencers, right? No one really thinks about partnering, and it's a totally different thing. I wouldn't even suggest it unless you already have something going and stuff like that. We kind of got into it by accident, and it kind of turned into its own kind of division. But we work a lot with that venture company that I was telling you, and like so they analyze a company that's doing well on Amazon and retail. I look at it in direct to consumer, and then the first thing everyone says is like, well, let's get some influencers. Let's just do that, and we'll do the same numbers as retail. It's like, well, that's not real. But you know, the reality is they all just want to do swipe ups. They're like, get them, hire them. They'll do a swipe up, and, you know, we'll make a bunch of money. So that just doesn't work anymore, because engagement's so down, right? Like engagement's max 10%, and that's engagement on like you're not, that doesn't mean engagement on your stories, which is really what's going to get you the swipe ups, right? So that's going to be more at like a 2 to 5%, right?
That's what I was going to say. A 10 is high. Right.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, that doesn't work anymore for those people to receive the revenue that they want, and for you to be able to quantify that into actual return on any kind of spend, right?
Right.
So what we do is we do something different. We write contracts now with influencers. Let's say that I own a purse company. Okay. And so I have a purse company. And so I will go to 3 or 4 girls that are like boho chic and have a huge influence in stuff like that. And I'll say, hey, listen, I want to run a test. My company, I never say it's me, like this company wants to run a test, and we want to pay you $2,000 for this month, or 5, or whatever the case, on depending on how many followers they have. But here's what I want. I only need 2 swipe ups and a story from, and maybe, use the thing on a picture. And then what I really want to do is I'm going to get access to your Facebook, and we're going to run some ads from your page. That's when you can get massive success, because what you're doing is you're leveraging their audience. Now that you are on Facebook, you can use their Insta, and you can tap into those followers in a way that Facebook is happy to do it, because they're like, oh, look at all these followers. You want to reach them? Just pay. Boom. So now you can go to all their actual audience, rather than getting that 2% on that one time at 3 o'clock that they swiped up that who knows who saw. And you're going to get lower CPMs, because they have a stronger Facebook page. And even though that page doesn't have engagement anymore, it still supports strong CPMs, because Facebook looks at it as like, well, this is an active account, and it has so many followers and it does so much stuff. So your CPMs are going to drop, which will allow you to have a better CPA, and you'll be able to run that through 3, 4, 5 influencers, instead of trying to do a big partnership and honestly spending more money net at the end of the year in a partnership and all that. And you can flip flop, because if it doesn't work with this influencer, it worked with that one. And then you can look at the demographic of that influencer. You can look at the content that you created, and you can turn that into working with more influencers, or you can now start creating similar user generated content for you to start running ads like that.
It's interesting you said that. You're familiar with Russell Brunson, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just got his traffic book somewhere, and he talks about the same thing. He talks about leveraging, partnering up with he calls his Dream 100, which are just his dream influencers that he wants to work with. And he says the same thing. He's like, once he has a relationship with them, he says, hey guys, can I use your account? I'll pay for the ads. But he's leveraging their name. He's leveraging, their audience. And at the same time, it's getting that influencer's name out there for free. Right. So it's kind of like he said the exact same thing. He says
they love it. They love it because it gives them more clout, which they're either trying to sign with an agency, or they're just trying to get more deals and say they have more clout. A lot of times you can also do something where you can share, listen, if we acquire emails, we'll share them. You guys can also have emails on this, depending on like what niche and all that kind of stuff that is. And so it's a win-win for them, because you're satisfying like the growth and likes that they want. They're also getting paid, and they don't know, to be honest with you, what Facebook even is, what a pixel even is, and like how to even like set up a business manager, right? So they're like, sure, man, whatever. Just make sure you send me that on the 15th.
Right. They just want to take selfies all day or do whatever the hell they do.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which I never understood.
So, just not in our mindset. And some people are just want to be on camera all the time. So if we have a lot of, small e-commerce brands that listen to us, and what would you recommend they look for if they were going to pinpoint an influencer? I mean, I know, follower size is big, but obviously you're not going to like call out Kim Kardashian, or you have to find that sweet spot that are actually people who are actually going to respond to you. What do you look for in an influencer with that?
So for smaller brands, I look for smaller, even with bigger brands now, we look for smaller influencers. So influencers in the 10 to 200,000 range are going to be your best engaged influencers. Once you're hitting the 3s, 5s, your engagement tends to be, for the most part, those people are going to be way down. Also, those people are probably signed to an actual agency, so you can't even talk to them. And now you're paying legitimate big fees, and it's kind of a pain in the butt with that. And their results aren't the results that, a Kim is going to be totally different than a girl with 500,000 followers, right? But the smaller you go and get a little bit more of those people, the better you can do. And the way you would approach them is DMing them, making it sound a little bit more professional rather than like, hey, I got a thing, you want to do whatever, making it sound professional. When they're engaging and they're like, yeah, I'm interested. Okay, cool. We would love to see, first off, a snapshot of your insights, because that will show you if their majority of followers are Egyptian and Indian or Croatian and Brazilian, which like, cool, but like that doesn't make us any money, and that's not going to get us engagement on our ads, and that's not going to season our pixel. So I don't really care, right? So if you're not American, Canadian, first, you know, I know you're going to get Brazilians. I mean, the world is following us nowadays, so we all have all kinds of followers, but really tier 1 countries are going to be the most important. If you don't have tier 1 countries, I don't want to work with you.
So what does that like first DM look like? Because I know that, you know, us as a podcast are influencers to some extent. You know, we don't have a huge following on social media, but we do get a ton of emails in, people wanting to be on the podcast and people trying to engage with us. And it's always so like robotic. And we look for those ones that are very personal. So what does that first DM usually look like for you? Is it very like, you know, just relationship building kind of thing, or how does that work?
It's usually catering to their ego, right? Like just hit them up on their first 2 or 3 posts that they made. Make sure that you like a few of their stuff first, because it'll show up, because they're looking at who's liking their stuff. Make sure you're viewing their videos, and then replying to like a story, something small, you know, some compliment about how good that story was, and then DMing them and be like, hey, I saw your last few posts. They're so good. You're awesome at this. I'd love to set up a call. I have a store that like is a really good fit for you, and I have a client that would love to talk to you, and kind of like hitting them up a little bit like that makes them set up like, okay, so this could be money for me. And at the end of the day, they're influencers, because that's how they get paid. They literally make no other revenue for the most part, unless they do something like what we do and you guys are doing, which is partnering with someone. But honestly, that's very few and far between. And most people that do try to do this, they over promise and under deliver. And so you know, they have a bad taste in their mouth with that. So it's easier to kind of come in and be like, hey, I got a client. They have a product that's super similar to the stuff that you talk about. It's in your space. I'd love to see if you have like 2 seconds, and I can just kind of tell you a little bit more about it. And they're like, yeah, sure. What's up? And then you just kind of keep the conversation.
And that, you know, like we get, like Kevin said, you know, I don't know if you have I don't think you have a podcast, correct?
We're relaunching it, but we don't right now.
So one of the hardest things that, you know, we get a lot of downloads for this podcast, but one of the hardest things to do is to take people from Facebook and bring them to, you know, your podcast, or Instagram and bring them to your podcast. It's just, you know, people on Instagram are playing on Instagram. People on Facebook are playing on Facebook. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we've had as a podcast, is, you know, bringing people, but we do get a lot of downloads, and a lot of people email us and like, they don't even know our name. They're like, hey, e-commerce uncensored. Like, I was just listening to your podcast. Like, well, no, you weren't, because first of all, the first thing we say is it's Kevin and Jason, and we don't say we're e-commerce uncensored. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and then they say, you know, pitch some stupid crap. We just delete it. But like, if people really wanted to talk to us, to be like, hey, I listened to podcast number 78 when you talked about Klaviyo, and I have this really cool tool that connects to Klaviyo, and, you know, whatever, like that to me, it just shows that they did a little bit more research. And right, because you're not the only one reaching out to these people for the most part.
No. And I think it's not people's fault. People are robotic. I mean, if you think about it, and you go into a bar, no one's just walking up to other people for the most part, unless, you know, random dude wants to try to get laid or something. But most people are walking with like 1 or 2 people, and they're kind of like this, right? So people are shy in general, and so they don't have like good social dynamics. We're marketers, and, you know, we make content, we make podcasts, so there's some sort of degree of like outgoing, even it's like Frank Kern, right? Frank's an introvert, but at the end of the day, like, he'll make all this content, right? Because he knows he has to expose himself. Russell's the same way, and so like we have this like, whatever, I'll shoot my shot, you know. And most people just don't know how to create rapport. They don't go to events almost for a living like a lot of us do and stuff like that. And so they just go, hey, I like this, give me this. That's how it feels. They're like shouting at you, and they're like, hey, give me something. I don't even care about your name. And you're kind of almost repulsed by it. You're like, dude, get out of here, you know? So yeah, like going conversational and making it almost also never being a fan, I think, is a very important thing. Once you're a fan, there's no way that you're going to work with anyone, because no one wants to be on some stand stuff and like work with fans. Like, it feels kind of creepy. So,
Right.
always trying to be like, oh, hey, I love your stuff. Or when you meet them in person, never go, can I take a picture? Because like you will immediately lose your credibility to them. You'll be a fan.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I don't think I've heard that, but that's that's interesting to me.
Yeah, we actually we had a kind of conversation about this with two of our girls that work with us, and because they're pretty much managing these people who come in and contact us to want to be on. We're like, we don't really want those people anymore. We want to go out and like reach out and create relationships with these influencers that already have a following, that already are speaking to our audience, and be more proactive, because the people who are reaching out, it's almost like they have this PR team and it's just not very personal approach. So we try to shy away from that totally.
Right. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Now, what do you one other thing I want to just touch on before we move on is that not only going after the influencers that are around the 10,000 to 200,000, like you said, they're not as flooded, but they're also probably more willing to work with you, right? Because they're smaller and they're like, shit, I got to get my name out there, and like it's probably a little easier with them. Am I making that up? Or
100%. So an influencer for 10,000 fans, they'll do stuff for clout. They'll do stuff just to show that they're getting stuff for free. So they'll do it almost for free. An influencer for 100 to 200,000 people, they'll do it for $1,000 to $2,000, just because like they're not getting flooded and inundated, and they also their income is like this. They're probably splitting some eBucks, and they don't know marketing, so they're just swiping up. So they're getting what they can get. So if you come like, hey, I'd like to do this test, but then there's this consistency behind it. If it works, they're all in, because they need that consistency. If they can get 2 or 3 of those, they're still in the mindset of, an entrepreneur that's like, I want to hit my first 10K and stay there. And then they're like, all right, now I want to hit 20 and stuff like that. So if you can create a little bit of consistency with them, they're all in with you, and they'll do a lot of work. The bigger ones will give you what you requested. Maybe sometimes you have to beg for it, and that's it.
And it's funny you say that. Well, not funny, but think about it, right? Like everybody wants to be this. It used to be a laptop on the beach, but now it's a cell phone.
Right.
I mean, think about somebody making, $2,500 times 3. I mean, you're not rich, but you could certainly, quit your job, right? I mean, shit. I mean, they're not making that much money, probably just, at their job, right? I mean, that's
right.
And you can sit and play on your phone all day like you like to do. So,
right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for them. But for you, would you say, because one thing that we've noticed with our client who's heavily with these influencers, again, one of our draws to you is that we don't know a lot about influencers, and that's just honest. But we work with someone who is their company is, and one thing that they're having a lot of trouble with is like managing like what they do is they send their product to people and ask them to review it. And then a lot of them don't. The product is a $300 product. They take the product, they keep it. They don't review it. They have to like follow up with everybody. They have a list. It's just like, it becomes like a huge mess. So how do you guys handle that? Do you guys like people reviewing? Cause that's like, I know that's like 5 years ago. I don't know if that's even still a thing.
We don't do that at all. So if you want to do that, just hire people and create user-generated content. Just literally hire actors and actresses, bring them in to a studio or something. Like we have a studio outside of here. And when people start to work with us, the first thing if it's like a 3-phase approach, I would say, okay, we're going to make user-generated content first. Then once we have money, we're going to go try to get some influencers and try to spike that. So you can have this omnipresence kind of feel using their Facebooks plus yours, building a big pixel and all that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't send that product out to too many people unless you have massive budget, because you're most likely not going to get that. And you don't need 45, 50, 60 influencers either. I think it's more important to have I'd rather have more user-generated content nowadays than having more influencers.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where they were sending like just 10 of these units out a week to several different influencers all over, And it was getting to a point where we were like, so what are we getting back for this? They had like this huge document where they had all the information of each influencer, but there was really no way to actually track back any sales. What's the best way to do tracking? Do you use a coupon code or something with the influencer when they're posting content?
You can use like a reversion and use a coupon code and have it set up that way. If you're building a funnel with them, obviously you can create like a specific URL and have all that tied into Google Analytics. But at the end of the day, there's also like cross-tracking, right? If we're running on Facebook and it was attributed on Google and all that,
right.
That's just tricky in general when you're running media. But for the most part, man, I really like, and we've tested this recently a lot. Influencers, some of them are doing so many things that like their clout is going down. And what works better right now, we have one brand that we were relying on for influencers a ton, and now we just started using user-generated content, girls opening up the bottles and using them and like having fun and just kind of feeling like, wow, this is like a whole thing. This is like the audience. People resonate with that like crazy right now. Because I do think with e-commerce specifically, people are buying people, not necessarily an influencer. They're buying a brand, they're buying people, they're buying a feeling. And the more you can create that with different people, and the more you can recycle and make new, fresh creatives with more user-generated content, the better conversions and the more consistent your ad spend is going to be as well.
Yeah, when you can see that video on the story, that's obviously an ad where they're like, they have all the coupon codes and 10% off and go here. You're like, I'm just like skipping back. If they're just like actually just using it like they would normally, that's when it resonates the most with me.
Right.
And one thing that I try to tell people, because, this whole idea, we actually had someone on who was like a conversion optimization specialist guy. And, my argument to him was like, conversions are happening before people get to the website these days, right? Yeah. It's like they see you on social, they see you on Insta, Facebook, whatever. They kind of get interested. They start seeing you more and more. They start trusting you more. And then by the time they get to the website, for the most part, they're either going to buy or not, right? Where back in the day, it was like, oh, what's this button color? Oh, where am I placing this? And that's kind of like, from what we're seeing, that's kind of like, changing. Like you come to the website, they just want to make sure that you're who you say you are. They want to make sure that, you look reputable, and, they either buy or leave. Yeah. Are you seeing the same thing from your side of things?
Yeah, I think especially with you guys and what you're doing with influencers, you can for sure get away with a lot of lack of specific conversion points. Like we don't care so much about colors and this and that as much as we used to, because we know, some of the big brands we have have big influencers, and we know, all right, well, they do have a 2 million person following. So like this is getting, we're crushing retargeting for the most part on that. Right. And I think a lot of it really comes to more so than what it used to be. It's copy, product page, copy, layout, and really, trying to convert the people that aren't going to come in, right? So I know for the most part, if a page converts at 4 or 5%, we have opportunity to scale on that, but everyone else is leaving. So first thing is cart abandonment. Second thing is mobile text abandonment on your mobile. We use PostScript inside of that, and always try to generate new people coming in through that. We make a lot through text message marketing for people that do abandon on that. And then we also build a new list from that. And so it's, reactivating those people. And that's kind of like how we try to get the majority of conversions. And it really starts from, it really is more holistic now even, because people don't Google you anymore, they Instagram you. And so that's why it is important to have a good Instagram page, or at least have consistent content. It is important to have a few influencers and a few shout outs and different things like that, because it adds credibility to you. I think now sometimes more than even a freaking website.
Yeah. And you know about this because you just got the time here. What we got here?
We got about 10 more minutes. We're good.
10 more minutes.
Yeah.
You have a pretty large following. And, I'm guessing that you've done that because, number one, how can you go to other people and say, I'm going to help you with your Instagram? And you haven't done it for yourself, right? So I'm guessing that's part of it, right? And it also gives you, like you said, the clout to probably charge the kind of dollars you want to charge, and it gives you a little bit more leverage from that standpoint.
Yeah, I actually didn't have one at all before, and we were partners with a supplement company that we ended up selling out, and the influencer stopped working in it, and we had all these supplements. We're like, well, we need these videos, and they weren't doing videos. And I was like, you know what, dude, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to blow up my Instagram, and I'm going to start doing all these videos so I can show you that I can do your job. I was just like mad, I was just pissed off, and I was like, I'll just go ahead and do it. And it ended up working. And so I ended up becoming the face of that brand by accident, not on purpose, didn't want to. And then that kept going, and I was like, well, I think we should just keep growing my brand. And we kept growing my brand, and it has resulted. I mean, we've closed massive deals, and a lot of it, I'm smart, people like me, sure, but like I think people even engaged prior to that, because they're like, oh, look at the content, look at the clout or the people, let's reach out. And then you win them because you know what you're talking about. But I think plenty of people would have not reached out, had it not been for that. And we run traffic to a few of our offers, and one of them is the agency. And we see the attribution of like, we will run ads and people will not engage with the ad. They will fully go follow me, tell me they engaged with the ad, and then we end up closing them on DM. So now that happens all the time. And so I think it's important for, even if you don't want to be famous, even if whatever, I don't think there's a way you can escape. If you want to be in some sort of servitude type of business or e-com brand business, you have to have some sort of content that you're putting out consistently, which by proxy is going to, I guess, possibly make you an influencer.
It's funny because the influencer game is kind of interesting, because I watch a lot of reality television, to be perfectly honest with you, with my wife. And I see a lot of these people who like almost get like become influencers by accident. And they all of a sudden get these huge followings, and then they have no idea what to do with it. Or someone who comes out with like this crazy viral video that all of a sudden has 100,000 followers on it, and they have no idea what to do. And I like, this is kind of embarrassing, but I used to watch Toddlers and Tiaras. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but there's this one girl, and her name was Honey Boo Boo. Do you know?
Yes,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I was watching TV the other day with my wife, and she has her own new show, and she's basically an influencer. She's got managers, she's got assistants, and it's kind of funny how these people are actually influencers, and I'm sure they die off eventually. But
yeah, but they're producing content, and that's what it comes down to. Like you're saying, Los. I mean, like it's so easy that it's hard.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's so easy.
Content is hard.
I
to be
do
relevant.
all kinds of content. I can do podcasts. I love doing video. I love speaking. Get me on my phone to do a story, and I just freeze. I freak out. I'm so uncomfortable with it. Like my team gets mad at me. He's like, "I'll make a story about this." I'm like, "I don't want to do that. Let's shoot a video. Let's make a podcast. Let's do something else." Because it's just, I'm not bred to do that. I just kind of force myself.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk says, don't record, document or something like that. He says when you're trying to or don't create, document. He's like, when you're trying to create something, it's like very difficult. But if you notice like his stuff, he's like in a room talking to people, and just somebody his dude is like videoing him, and then it becomes a story, or it becomes something like, and
when you have a camera crew following you around, that can be pretty easy.
Right, but
he's got 22 people. 22 people just for his brand.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he didn't start off with 22 people. He started off with D-Rock. One guy.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, you end up there, but
he's just got that personality, though. He just wants to do selfie videos all the time.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. But the point,
he's an influencer.
Yeah, and he's a pretty damn good businessman too. But the thing about him though is, it makes sense. I mean, if you document, you don't have to share it. Just document it, and you have it, and then you can do whatever you want with it. But for me, if somebody documented me, it would just be me staring at Facebook ads all day. It's basically what it would be. You know what I mean?
So we're launching I haven't done this, but I have an idea, because I'm not, like we said, like I don't love that unless it's like videos for YouTube or something like that. I do like shooting, but I want to do more on stories and stuff. And I'm the same way, right? Like I'm standing, I have meetings, I'm in the computer. Like there's nothing fun about this. I don't live in New York. Like I can't make it cool. And there's COVID, so like you can't even go places. Right. And so we're launching a new brand, and I was thinking about, I don't know, maybe doing it for free, or I was even thinking like, I don't know, maybe charge like $50 one time just to like get engaged people and be like, hey, I'm going to go from 0 to 100K on a new brand. and my goal is in 120 days. You guys can follow it, and I'm going to hit you with a newsletter. I'll do like close friends on this, and I'll just kind of give you all the insights that we're doing. I'll do lives with like what our plans are and stuff like that, and give updates. Just because that way is a way to document something. It holds you crazy accountable. Like, I guess I got to do this. I don't look like a douche.
Not us. We've done that and we just stopped doing it. That's the problem. Like,
well, that's
we're
what I
gonna do
do
this.
for not doing it. Yeah, I'm like, man, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, we did. I can't tell you how many times Kevin and I have sat down like, okay, this is what we're doing. Whatever, 3 weeks of this, and we get through like 3 days, and we're like, nobody really cares if you stop.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody, it's so funny, man. If you could take like a video, and just a camera, and just stick it in every office of entrepreneurs, I think the same story would be like played over and over and over and over. It's like, I'm good at making other people money. I'm good at making other brands money, but ask me to do it for myself, and it's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, our producer Jen is always like, she's always texting me. She's like, "Can you do one of those selfie videos promoting the last episode?" I'm like, ugh.
No,
and I'll like set the camera up on my and I'll sit here for a half hour doing about like 20 different takes trying to get it perfect every time. I just can't do it.
Yeah, we're hanging out about our own thing. That's why I do respect influencers, because they're just like, no, I'm going to put it out. Or they'll do 15 of these. I'll do 2, and I'm like, well, no, I suck at it. I'm not going to do 3.
But you know what though? See, you respect them, and I'm like, they're just egotistical, like self. No.
Oh no, there's plenty that I they're not they're just hard to work with. I mean, and this is just the reality. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. They're difficult to work with. I mean, we've worked with people at this point from TV to the NFL, and there is no difference. There is zero difference. We've seen that, like, if you're kind of famous to like TV level famous, you only care about what your thoughts, your things, everything, and you are just a cog in this wheel. But conversely, if you step out, that is going to be a flat tire, and that's the thing that they don't see, because we all have an ego. That's cool, but we're more so business and like goal driven. They are more so ego driven by far.
Exactly.
The last thing, I have one more question, because I think it's something that for me, even me and our audience, I think want to understand. And you've mentioned it throughout our conversation a little bit, talking about costs, but be more specific. Like, if you had if you wanted to go after an influencer that had, say, 100,000 followers, and you were able to get connection with him, and you said he or she would charge $1,000, $2,000, what should the brand expect to get out of that? Is that like a week worth of content? Is that 1 day of content?
So if I structured it, I would say that I want 2 story posts and 1 feed post. And then I want access to the Facebook just so I can run some ads. And I'll use that story and feed post. I won't even make them do a third, because they won't do it or they'll overcharge. And I'll run those into our campaign to see if we can get success off that. And we would run that for a month. So that's what you should expect. The story and the other post, honestly, I don't expect anything. It's just almost like
you want the ad account.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I want the audience, I want the ad account, I want the CPMs. And that's how you need to explain it to clients, because they want the influencer, and they don't realize it's the same thing as building the influencer's business. You're like, no, you're seeing this is what matters. I know what to do here. I'm going to use this, I'm going to make this deal over here. It's playing chess, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to win, because now I have the account, now I have the audience, now I have the user generated content from them. Then I can scale and I can figure out how to drop our CPMs and get us more success. If this works, if not, we're going to test another influencer. So that's what I would want to get out of it.
Right, awesome. Cool. So you would take over their ad account for like a month, basically.
100%. Yeah. And if it works, I'm going to put them on retainer and just keep doing it.
All right,
Love it. So Los, where can people, if people want your help, are you taking new clients? What are you guys up to?
Yeah. We take on a few clients a month. We're kind of, we have influencer people, and then we have just direct to consumer brands. So, just reach out. You can go to @LosHustle on Instagram. Is honestly I will be there. I respond to my own DMs and stuff. And it's easier to go there than to a website nowadays. So just go there and we can jam.
That's the thing too, when you have a get the right influencer with like 100 to 200,000, it's like you actually speak to the person, which is really nice.
100%. Yeah.
Right. Awesome, man.
All right, cool. That was
awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for your time, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. This was awesome.
You were like the first person to talk about influencers on our show. Yeah. Honestly, like, you broke our cherry.
Nice. Nice.
Thanks, Los.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot,
no
man.
problem.
We really
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it. Let us know if
See
you
you
need
guys.
anything.
Take it
We
easy.
will. Thanks.
All right. You got it, bro.
All right, he's a pretty cool dude, right?
Yeah. I mean, truth be told, he's the first person to give us his phone number after
Yeah.
the interview.
Yeah,
And
that's-
he's the first guy to know not to hang up after we're done
Right?
recording.
Yeah, he
He
must
didn't
be
hang
doing-
up, and he sat there and he said, "Thanks, guys."
I was
And-
expecting him to go, and then he was just still
Me
there. I was
too.
like, what do I do?
Yeah. So that was pretty impressive. He
Really
must-
nice guy, and he knew his shit, man. He's worked.
Yeah.
He's obviously worked with a lot of influencers, a lot of different personalities. So he's got a lot of good information.
Yeah, cool guy. So yeah, definitely
so-
check him out.
Yeah, check him out at Los Hustle on Instagram. That seemed to be his primary location to go check him out. But you also got to go check out Klaviyo and sign up for a free account. They're the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform. Go to klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored. You can sign up for a free account to give that a chance over there.
And if you're running ads or you're about to run ads on Facebook and you're struggling or you need to know really how to run them, you gotta sign up for my course, ecommerceuncensored.com/truth. It's called The Truth About Facebook. And I'm going to show you guys some things in there that you probably have never seen or heard from anyone. Because I'll tell you what, I've been doing this Facebook thing for a really long time. And truth be told, Kev, really didn't know what the hell I was doing. Now
we
we're
couldn't
spending
explain our success.
right now we're
It's not
spending
like we were having success. We just didn't know why.
we didn't know why, right? But now we're spending $90,000 a month of our own money, and we've learned a lot.
That's what it takes.
That's what it takes. Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 177. As always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com. We'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.